This is the fourth lens that I've reviewed from TTArtisan, and though I use full frame cameras now like this Nikon Z6 III almost exclusively, I was interested to see how this APS-C 56mm f1.8 lens performed. As I say, this is the Z-mount version, using DX crop mode on my Nikon cameras. And this lens roughly becomes an 85mm equivalent. So I invite you to come along and check out my results after a month or so of testing in various situations. Hi, Ray here with a review of the TTArtisan 56mm f1.8 lens. Very briefly, the basic specs out of the box. It weighs in at 298 grams on my scale, 10.5 ounces. That's with caps and hood, which you wouldn't necessarily use together. So about 272 grams, 9.6 ounces in practical use with hood. And by the way, I prefer TTArtisan's boxes for the previous lenses that I've reviewed. Just a note from a box collector. As I mentioned, it covers APS-C image circle only. It uses a stepper motor, f1.8 large aperture, f16 smallest, ED glass. The camera's eye recognition focus works as expected. More on that later. It has an interface for firmware upgrade, and TTArtisan have chosen a, shall we say, different way to implement that, with USB-C port in the side of the rear lens cap. So an electronic contact inside that aligns with the lenses, so you can do firmware updates to the lens through a computer. When it comes to these third-party lenses, I think I prefer having the USB-C port on the lens, and it's usually adjacent to the mount. And this is a nice metal mount, by the way. But what do you do if you lose this rear lens cap? And that's a real possibility since it fits quite loosely. I'll be putting this away in the lens cupboard and using a spare Nikon cap. The body is full metal, and it looks well designed and solidly constructed as the other TTArtisan lenses that I've looked at previously. Though it's not as obviously metal as the other TTArtisan lenses, it is. And this comes, of course, in Z-mount, also E and X mount, and comes with a lens hood. In regard to the latter, this is an interesting design, looks cool, but really how practical? Since first, you can't reverse mount it for storage, and when it's in place, no chance to use a filter on the 52mm thread. I've been leaving it in place in my bag and just checking for dust and mist when I remember. And speaking of mist, there's no weather sealing as far as I can tell. No image stabilization. Luckily, Nikon's IBIS is so good. There's no switches on the lens barrel to switch between, say, manual and autofocus, for instance. Aperture ring, that might have been nice, but really for me, it's not a deal breaker. It does lead to a clean and sleek design, I'll say. The manual focus APS-C 35mm 1.4 that I reviewed a while back had a very good close focusing distance of 28 centimeters. And you'll see more video results from that lens in an upcoming short film, if I get it finished. Meanwhile, the AF version, also a 1.8, can only focus as closely as 60 centimeters. So not so great for a 35mm lens. This autofocus 56mm does a lot better at 50 centimeters. I've enjoyed using that spec in the real world. Consider that the Nikon 85mm f1.8 close focus distance is 80 centimeters. Compared to the Viltrox AF 56mm f1.4, that lens's close focus distance is 60 centimeters. So there are some comparisons for the bokeh connoisseurs without diving into the individual ingredients. I'll leave those, as they refer to this lens anyway, in the mixing bowl, because I don't intend to focus on the technical specs of this lens. I'd rather let results, at least my results, speak for themselves. In brief, let me preface those by saying this is a good entry-level lens for portrait and general short telephoto photography at the competitive price of $158 US. As is often the case with lower-priced lenses, the corner sharpness or lack thereof is noticeable. There's significant vignetting and a bit of chromatic aberration, but these are easily corrected for the most part, in apps like Lightroom. For instance, Lightroom recognizes the lens and provides corrections. So I am, in fact, quite impressed by this lightweight, compact lens from TTArtisan. As far as video, it should be noted that, as with most budget lenses, and actually some that are quite expensive, this lens exhibits a fair bit of focus breathing. And when it comes to shooting stills, I did notice a bit of focus pulsing, which I'm not quite sure actually interfered with the autofocus overall, but I hope that might be addressed in a firmware update because it's distracting. So here's some photos and video.
I know a place where we can go and be alone. So come away with me, nobody has to know where we gonna go. I was just calling to see if you're free to run away with me, to run away with me. Don't tell your friends, we'll let them know we're safe later on. The road is calling, sun on our skin, sleeping under stars when it's gone. I was just calling to see if you're free to run away with me, to run away with me, to run away with me, to run away with me.
Overall, a decent lens at this competitive price. I do wish the hood design was more, shall we say, conventional, because I like to use filters. Though when it came to neutral density filters for video, I just used the 52mm step-up ring for my 82mm variable ND, without the hood, of course. And there, it could fit my matte box too. So I hope you found this look at the TTArtisan AF 56mm f1.8 lens helpful. If you did, please do give it the old thumbs up. It really does help the channel grow. And if this is your first visit, please do consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell to be alerted to new content from me. In the meantime, take care, cheers, we'll see you later.